All right, it's an evening edition because my last video that you saw yesterday, the fog was coming in and the sun was going down. So we're doing the grown black folks evening that you will see in the morning. Yesterday, we covered the first trait of regression in people. And when I say regression, I mean unable to progress in their life. And today we'll talk about the second trait of people that if you should happen to see this in others and yourself, you might have to leave them alone. And if you see it in yourself, then you need to get over yourself because people that combine these traits ain't gonna make it through the 21st century. It's gonna be hard enough for everybody. But I'm telling you, I've told you, get away from people devoted to being regressive, and there are some definite traits. And today we're going to talk about the most popular, which is the necessity of instant gratification. Now, let me break this down. I'm 40, and my generation has sometimes been called the microwave generation. If we want to have something to eat, we are used to being able to pop it in the microwave and eating it in the next minute to 5 minutes. The whole idea is that you have to put something in the stove or on top of the stove and cook it for more than an hour is almost foreign, except for those of us who, thank God, like me, who have parents and grandparents who can actually cook and who taught me. But the point is, the idea that whatever you want you could get quickly is a disaster for progressing in your life. It is a disaster. And people who need things to be instant are going to lead you off the side of a cliff. And if this is you, this is something that is holding you back in your life. It is a regressive habit. It will not allow you to progress in the ways you need to in order to thrive in the 21st century. Many of you online who may see this at some point are talking about, oh my gosh, there's a great reset going on, and they have planned all this stuff for us, and there's nothing we can do about it. There is a sense in which there is a great reset because the 20th century ideas of doing the economy are disappearing in favor of the 21st. This is a knowledge-based economy in a communications age, meaning that you have to find the right knowledge and apply the right knowledge immediately, and then what happens is, unless you communicate effectively with people, you will not be given access. Once you have knowledge, there are things you can do to make a ton of money, and no one even has to know that you're black at all. A fat black woman in America, no one knows. Or whatever you may happen to be, there are ways that you can get to money that people cannot hold you back from at this particular moment in history. But getting the knowledge and being around the kind of people and being willing to listen to the kind of people that can get you there, that's the challenge. And one of the habits that will stop people from being able to thrive in the 21st century is the need for instant gratification. Most of the things you're going to learn how to do in a knowledge-based economy, you have to develop a certain amount of knowledge, a certain amount of skill. I'm not talking about going to college necessarily, but notice something. Your education to prepare you for your life, let's just assume for a minute that everything you need to know, that school is actually teaching you things you need to know. Okay, to a certain extent, reading, writing, arithmetic, basic mathematics, and all the things, at least up to 8th grade, actually have application in the real world. Every item of clothing that you have on that was purchased, now I made this, so that doesn't count, but every item of clothing that you have on that you purchased, someone used 8th grade algebra concepts to decide, we need to make this much profit, so how much should we charge for it? This, you remember, is the rise over the run when you had to do those graphs, y equals mx plus b, the 8th grade algebra concepts called managerial accounting in the world of big business. But it took you 8 grades of schooling to have access to that, and maybe nobody ever told you that these concepts that you are getting are going to be worth it. So you have all the information, you had to go all that level to acquire all that information, and then you still need to talk to someone that had a relationship to be willing to tell you, which is what goes to yesterday's conversation. If you feel entitled and you're not grateful, then you don't get into more situations where people tell you those things. But even if you are very grateful, you still had to put in 8 grades of work to understand how that process works. Now that you know that you can use algebra, okay, this is my product. I would like to make X from it. I have Y number of units. So how many how many units, so now we've got a 3-variable equation because I'm trying to do this out of my head. I'd like to make X profit. Okay, let's say I want to make $100 in profit. I have 50 units, so I need to charge X. Solve for X. That's what all that algebra is partially really for. It took you 8 grades of learning math before you could get to the algebra that determines what everything on your body costs, unless, of course, you made it yourself. This is why instant gratification, needing to have it now, will destroy you, because knowledge acquisition by itself takes time and steady. And if you're not going to do it in a school environment, then you have to look at, okay, I discover on YouTube that there is something called Bitcoin. And by discovering this, I now have to find out what it is and how to make it work for me. That takes time. It takes time also to learn how to avoid the scams that go around these issues. So that takes time. You can't just jump in. That's one example. There are many others, but that one is common. Here's an example you don't often think of. Most of us, if we grew up watching television in the United States of America, have this idea that, what we would like to do is be rich. But insisting that every quick way be the way that you go in anything is a guarantee to run yourself into some very serious trouble. I live in San Francisco, and walking is one of my major forms of exercise. And I even use walking for my transportation because I can walk approximately 2 miles in any direction at any given time. It took a long time to get back to that because I was severely disabled several years ago. Again, instant gratification, if I absolutely insisted on that, I would have given up at the end of 2017 because I was told I wasn't going to be able to ever straighten my leg again. I might be in a wheelchair. They didn't figure I could recover. I was larger then than I am now. I've actually walked all that weight off. But that took time and persistence. So if you're into instant gratification, you give up really soon. And then you try something else. And then you try something else. But the problem is you'll get there if you keep persisting. So I used to walk as far as I could, and then I could add a little more, and then I could add a little more. I can walk 2 miles in any direction now. Well, total. 1.5 in any direction, 1.5 going back if I want to. That's about the extent. But hey, I'll get past that because I'll put in time on it every day and every week, and it's cumulative. And if you go back and look at my Grown Black Folk video from 3 years ago, you're going to notice something about me. There's a lot of weight missing from me now. That was persistent effort. If I needed that gone immediately, I would have tried every stupid diet, fad diet there was out there, and possibly killed myself twitching from thing to thing to thing and putting the body through that after such severe disability. Needing instant gratification will run you off the road that way. But there's another way, and I mentioned San Francisco for a reason. San Francisco is one of those places where if you are standing on level ground, you can probably go uphill 4 ways. From where I start out in the morning or the afternoon when I do my walking, I literally can go uphill 4 ways. One way is a grade, but the other way within 3 blocks will put me on a significant hill. One particular direction will allow me to walk uphill for a solid mile, be going up a serious hill. But the thing about mountains like this in San Francisco is when you get a map, it doesn't show you the topography. So you just gonna walk down the street 11 blocks to wherever it is you're trying to go, and you haven't planned ahead, and you don't know how to do this because you just think you're gonna walk 11 blocks. You're gonna be there in no time because if you're somebody like me, you can walk 11 blocks in 15 minutes, right? Instant gratification says I'll be there in 15 minutes and didn't bother to check the map. I have done this to myself twice in 40 years. Hills a quarter mile or more that you didn't realize are in the way. You may actually 3 times now that I think about it. So you looked at the map, you thought you were going to get there quickly, but in reality, to get there from wherever you started is going to take a level of personal strength, mental toughness, and persistence that that either you haven't developed or you do not. I have not yet rolled off the side of a hill. Even on those occasions where I let myself get caught out there. But it's only happened 3 times because I've learned at this point, wherever it is you're trying to go in San Francisco, you better account for the fact, you better find out there's probably a hill in the middle of it. And if you don't account for that, you're going to suffer. Now, again, mental toughness and enough physical ability to get there. I'm actually very strong. So again, I haven't fallen off the side of the hill, but that was bad planning because I was just trying to think about where it was I wanted to go. Instant gratification, illustrated in the hill climb. A lot of us want to get to places in life, and we want to get there now. There's a hill in the middle. So 2 things can happen. One, you're not going to get there because you're going to roll off the side of that hill. That can happen. You have to develop all the character and toughness to get there before that happens to you. Or if you are very wise, you recognize that I'm going to make sure that I know what it is that I need and that I am prepared for the difficulties of the way, and then plan to take my time doing that. Again, I have never fallen off the side of a hill. I have made it up and down some hills that people are just like, what are you doing up here? I know. No one expects it, but I can do it. Because over persistence of having walked and walked and walked and walked since 2017, you build up the muscle, you build up the mental toughness, you build up the techniques to get there, even though you definitely bit off more than you can chew. You ever come to San Francisco? We'll go around Buena Vista Park. I don't care who you think you are. That hill can humble you. Because if you're not ready, now if you're a regular walker, cool. But if you're not ready, okay. And see, this is what happens to us in life. The quest for instant gratification will run you up to the side of a hill that you don't know how to get to. Because if you want to get from not having this, that, and the third to getting there, oh yeah, you're going to try to find a fast way to go there. You're going to roll off the side of the hill because you can't get there from here. At least, not like that. So you have to actually get the map and do some research, figure out where you want to go, what it's actually going to cost you, estimate a reasonable amount of time for what it really takes, and then start that climb. And take your time and pace yourself. Deal with the pain. Trust and believe. The last time I did that, oh brother, deal with the pain and then keep climbing. And then you get around the turn of the hill sometimes and you find out there's almost as much hill in front of you as there was behind you. Buena Vista Park is uphill for a mile. So there's more to that hill than you think it is. There's more turns to that hill. Getting around, oh my gosh. But this is sometimes the journey between you and the things you want to achieve and the dreams you have. And regressive people do one of 2 things. They start things and they don't finish because they don't have the patience to get through the process. They start things and get destroyed halfway because they're not ready for it. And not only do they fail to get there, but they also blow out every resource that they do have. This happens over and over again. It's one of the reasons people get stuck in life. But the third thing they do is then they then go and try to discourage anyone else from doing it, which is why you have to get away from them. Because you'll never make it copying the habits of people that don't know how. Trust me on this. You don't want to talk to me when it comes to climbing Mount Everest. I'm not built for that, but I know that. I'm not going to pretend to be authority on mountain climbing because I've gotten around Buena Vista Park. That doesn't qualify. I can get us around there, but that's it. That's about, well, okay, top of Noe in San Francisco. That's pretty deep too, but it's still the same classification of things. And then the other thing about this is if your mindset is instant gratification, once you reach the top of the hill, there's only one tiny problem. You do have to find a way to stay up there or come back down. It's like when people get the lottery and they win the lottery and they have $1 million and they end up spending it all. It's that same lack of preparation. This is like trying to walk down Dubois Street with bad knees. It is the steepest downhill, one of the steepest downhills you will do in San Francisco. I just had my whole leg put back together. I was ready for it, but I wasn't ready for it. It's like I can do it physically, but oh my gosh. But intellectual capacity, mental toughness, physical ability built up over 4 years of walking. I made it. But oh my gosh. Without those things, I'm back in the hospital. Coming down, how you get off the hill is important too. So you go through all this trouble, and despite everything, you make it to the top of the hill. But the same habits that got you to the top of the hill are not going to allow you to stay there. And again, this is why these traits in yourself of needing instant gratification will make it harder for you to get to the top. And then when you get there, these same habits of I'm going to take this money and use it to deal with all my fantasies right away, instead of then making sure that you can stay in that position and extend it and expand it, that same set of habits, even if you do manage to achieve great success, will not allow you to stay there. And if you take in and listen to people that have these same traits, you're going to get dragged down and have to roll down that hill and end up busted up. The first trait of people who are regressive and who you have to get away from, and things you have to work on for yourself, ingratitude, entitlements. Ingratitude/entitlement. We talked about it last time. Second trait, needing instant gratification. Now, these two often run together because both of them have a similar root in the Black community in particular. Generally speaking, deprivation will cause this because people who have been deprived do realize that they're owed something from someone. Sometimes they take it out on everybody else, but then also deprivation leads to impatience with the process of working one's way out of a situation. We understand it, but the thing about it is, they're not functional. And in the 21st century, if you indulge either of these two habits, you ain't gonna make it. You ain't gonna make it. Because we are in a knowledge-based economy in the communications age, and people who exhibit the need for instant gratification are written off by people that know that the journey takes time, it takes consistent effort, it takes building toughness, and so you get written off. And like I said about entitled behavior and ingratitude, guess what? After a while, your reputation precedes you. You get written off before you even knew there was anybody writing you off. And this is how people get stuck, circling the drain, and heading downward. Knowledge-based economy, communications age. So these are things you cannot afford in yourself. And if you run with people like this, you get written off with them. It's the number 2 trait. Okay, that's enough for this video. Just enough to think about. The previous videos will be in this playlist, Grown Black Folks Talk, and you're going to see one of those videos there right here in the corner. Right here in the corner. You'll see it. All right. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time on Grown Black Folks Talk. Bye.